Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get straight to the point. The numbers are big. $6 trillion annually for global climate finance, an annual climate finance gap of over $4.5 trillion, with stark inequities in capital deployment. Such figures will make some despair, but we should not, because we're not talking about trillions in grants or corporate CSR. We're talking about $6 trillion of investments. We're looking at an unmet opportunity of $4.5 trillion. And the world is not short of money. There's more than $120 trillion in assets under management between pension funds and insurance, family offices, and sovereign wealth funds. Worldwide, net private wealth stands at over $450 trillion and is expected to increase more than 6% annually. We don't just have the money, we have the momentum. Barely a year ago at COP28, the UAE delivered transformative outcomes through the UAE consensus. COP29 in Azerbaijan built on these achievements, and COP30 in Brazil will continue to push the world forward. It's increasingly clear that the so-called Global South is leading the charge. China is now thought to have 1,200 gigawatts of installed wind and solar capacity, 5 years ahead of the government's target. In the first quarter of 2024, China installed more solar power generation than the rest of the world combined for the whole year. 3/4 of India's new installed power capacity last year were renewable. In fact, India is moving towards an electrified economy much faster than any nation ever has. Closer to home, the UAE will invest more than $160 billion in global clean energy in the coming years, with a focus on ensuring that these investments promote a just transition, protecting livelihoods and supporting vulnerable communities. You will have heard Dr. Sultan Al-Jaber talk about the launch of ADNOC's XRG, a groundbreaking $80 billion lower carbon energy investment company, driven by 3 megatrends: the transformation of energy, exponential growth of AI, and the rise of emerging economies. And of course, as we just heard, Altera plans to invest $30 billion to generate at least $240 billion into smart climate solutions. Indeed, the world's momentum is coming from many serious companies making serious investments. And it should not surprise anybody that the Global South is stepping forward. It is a global powerhouse. It's already home to 85% of the world's population. It already accounts for more than half of global GDP. And by 2030, it's anticipated to account for more than 80% of the world's middle class. So any answer that does not put the Global South, or in other words, the global majority, at the center is no answer at all. So the world has money and momentum, and now we must seize this moment. And to do so, we need a coordinated whole-of-society approach, supported by equitable financing mechanisms that prioritize both environmental and social outcomes. And I believe that the business and philanthropy sectors, in partnership with governments, are the key to unlocking these opportunities. The private sector has always been a driver of innovation. Governments can and must enable this innovation. And philanthropy is the world's hidden catalytic capital superpower. A hint of what's possible came at COP28 during the first ever Business and Philanthropy Climate Forum. At that forum, more than 1,300 private sector leaders from 80 countries, nearly half from the Global South, and 40% of them women, joined forces to deliver $7 billion in new commitments. And I want to emphasize, these were firm commitments to invest in net zero and nature positive projects designed to deliver market returns. That forum came about because the UAE's leadership has long believed that society moves fastest when it moves as one whole society. The success of the UAE is built on this philosophy. My job as Special Envoy for Business and Philanthropy is to help identify more of these multi-stakeholder opportunities to accelerate collaborative progress. And I wholeheartedly believe that our success as a global society will depend on how well that we embrace this philosophy around the world. So again, we have the money, we have the momentum, and now we must act boldly, working across sectors and across geographies to seize this moment together. Thank you.